Okay, remember that they're changing my voice and they're trying to sabotage me, and they are sabotaging. This video is very important. It's about the connection between September 11th, 1966 and 9/11, 2001. So around 9/11, 2001, law enforcement sought to put certain labels on me, and it connects to 9/11. Now bear with me now. If I decide to, I'll reveal what that is at the end, but it's not necessarily strategic, and I want to confuse various issues. Okay. So on September 11th in 1966, the Eastern delegates, right, the delegates from the Igbo region in Nigeria, had received news of fresh killings of their tribesmen. And by October 1st, keep in mind Halloween's at the end of the month, they decided that they had enough, and they decided they weren't going to show up anymore, and they were going to go to the east and prepare for whatever comes next. Serious and bloody tribal war. Bombs exploding, machine guns, you name it. So what led up to this incident, right, was first there was a coup being thrown because the Northerners felt that the Igbos had an unfair advantage in education, right? It's a mix between Igbos being, basically in many ways the smartest race on the planet, but you know how rich whites and rich Jews and certain groups like LGBT groups, they try to look superior, so they're sabotaging black people, and the Igbos are no exception. So the die is cast. And because they like to change records and do stuff like this and remaster videos and change the way people look, I'm sure you'll just take my word for it because I'm Christ. And at the same time, I'm not a racial supremacist. I'm a moral supremacist. Right? After my flesh dies, everyone's going to be cut off from every race. But these are the facts. So this is what's happened here. So when we talk about the war on terror, you're talking about 9/11, right? 911, the police, right? And the police helped the Klan and other fraternities lynch black people in America, and many of them were of Igbo descent, right? Many of them were of Nigerian descent, and many of them were of Igbo descent. And they would wear, the white, that stands for the spirit of white people, and especially the English, right? The Klan symbolism, the English symbolism, the old English flag, white with red, is very similar. And there was a lot of English people involved. They talked about Nordicism, right? Northern Europeans. And there were Jews involved there, and that's a bit more confusing why that is, when on record the Klan are said to be anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish, anti-Catholic, what have you. But they're just another group in worldwide white supremacy that works together like the left-right paradigm in politics. And so it is with the Catholic Klan Jew paradigm, right? So there was a lot of atrocities being committed, and the word atrocity has the word arts scrambled into it, and is more significant than you think, right? Hitler is an artist, for example. Artisans, create illusions, right? There's a lot of connections there, but let's just get this over with quickly here. So the date after the first original coup was thrown, right? So basically the Hausa tribe, the northern tribes, Hausa, Fulani, other Muslim tribes in the north, they were angry that the Igbos had a certain relationship with the Europeans. Now, I don't know all the detail of the relationship. Sometimes I'm sure the relationship was a bad relationship, right? That they were cheating people. Yeah, I'm sure that's the case. But like I said before, Igbos are actually smarter naturally than everyone else, including northern Nigerians. And in terms of on the spectrum, historically, again, people sabotage people, the die is cast, what have you. And it has to do with life intelligence, success rates, with obstacles considered, what have you. And so there was a kind of back and forth in the government, to make a long story short, which led to the Igbos throwing a coup, and a lot of people got killed in the coup, at least maybe several dozen people or so, and that included some very key members of the Muslim tribe and the Muslim tribes, the House of Fulani, the Northern Party, what have you. There were eventually reprisal killings where Igbos were being killed, and on September 11th, 1966, that date was specifically mentioned in the documentary, and it was a significant date. These delegates caught fresh news of the killings, which goes back to 9/11 and the news of the towers going down. and the psychological effect it was expected to have, right? The Klan dealt in psychology, the fraternities, English governing class, European governing class, American governing class, Jewish governing class, Israelis, they deal in psychology and propaganda and theater arts to a large degree. Okay, so you need to understand that. And that's that connection. 1966, right? Mark of the beast, 666. The 9 is like a 6 upside down. Okay, and woe to you who call good evil and evil good. In the documentary, the annotations often refer to the Igbos as evil and eagles. So they're calling good evil and evil good. So who goes around the world causing these things to happen to the CIA and the Mossad and MI6? You should know who's in the right and who's in the wrong, and by far. Now, how many of you think it's smart to threaten God's son? Even in the white man's own system, Christ on the cross being sabotaged and persecuted while manning up, while people are acting like bitches and frats who are, in frat-like groups, guilds, cults, who are mocking him. Okay, who's the center of the story? Who's the victorious one? It is the transcendent hero. Not a bunch of bitches siding with the government, acting like punks, afraid to be a man, with no idea about God and no idea about God's requirements, but they just pretend to have an idea like the Romans and the Jews that refuse to obey God through Christ in the story. And so how it started there, in a sense, is how it ends here.